Let's talk about all things Java at VoxxedDays.
Welcome to the Foojay Podcast, all your news about OpenJDK.
On April the 3rd, the first VoxxedDays event in Amsterdam took place. VoxxedDays are tech events organized by local community groups with support from the Devoxx team. Geertjan Wielenga brought along a camera and microphone and spoke with many of the attendees. But let's start with Turk, one of the event's organizers, who was very happy with how the day started.
Congratulations. It seems like a big success, a big crowd, a lot of people talking, a lot of enthusiasm here.
Yeah, thank you. Really nice to hear, and especially the people, if they're having a good time, the talks are good, having a great time, social. I'm very happy with the jugs also, with Foojay. Everything comes together. I'm really, I'm proud of that, of us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this took many months to put together, and a lot of people are involved, and it must be fantastic. Great weather, and so many people, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the weather is also helping, and of course we have a jug square. How cool is that? That all the jugs are here, and it all comes together, kind of.
And is there anything that you can predict about future implementations of this interface?
Of this interface, interesting. Yeah, we want to grow also next year. Next year we are a 2-day event, VoxxedDays event, on the 25th and the 26th of March. So we have even 2 days of fun. Yeah, and to grow, of course.
VoxxedDays is part of the Devoxx family, which was co-founded by Stephan Janssen in Belgium many years ago. So he had a very good reason to be in Amsterdam.
This is the inaugural event. I have to be here, right? Just to see it in my own eyes, how it's going and so on. It's just amazing. I mean, congratulations to the team. I mean, they did an amazing job. I mean, I already feel the Devoxx vibe. I mean, it's in the cinema complex. They have almost 1,000 attendees. It's even the AV team is the team that also does Devoxx Belgium. So it's clear to say we know clearly what their ambition is. Is to become a Devoxx Netherlands. And they're getting very close. So the criteria is to have at least minimum 1,000 attendees, be 2 days minimum. And so next year, VoxxedDays Amsterdam will be 2 days, which is already great. So the chances are very high that not next year, but the year after, they will most likely become a Devoxx Netherlands, which was the initial goal by Paul Kraak and his team. So I can only congratulate them. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's the first VoxxedDays which has already 950 people in their first edition. So they are skyrocketing, that's for sure.
It's really amazing, and also the number of speakers and the quality of the speakers and the variation of new speakers and well-known speakers is also quite great.
Well, so I think they had close to 500 proposals in the CFP, and if you only if you have like 30 slots, you have a huge number of talks that you can select from. I mean, I even submitted the talk and I didn't get selected. That's how high the quality was, right? So which is great. I mean, content is king. That's really important. And we have Josh Long is here, Victor Renta is here, and many other well-known speakers, which of course it helps the branding, the franchise really helps, because if they see, there's a VoxxedDays, the speakers also know that we have top quality and good content, and that really helps, right? If you start from scratch with an unknown brand, you would not get that many submissions because people don't know about it. So it looks like this McDonald's franchise thing, it looks like it works.
And also it may have something to do with the community in the Netherlands, which has always been quite strong in the Java ecosystem. A lot of different jugs and always great attendance at the Devoxxes around the world and so on.
Yeah, well, I mean, Turk really did an amazing job. He went to all the Java user groups in the Netherlands, and there's so many. I wasn't aware there were so many. So even you guys as well, he really reached out. They gave them even a floor space to promote their Java user group. And it's all about community. I mean, this is only possible with the support of the community, with support of the sponsors, of course, because they have a lot of sponsors. I mean, they sold out the exhibition floor, and there were so many new companies that we've never seen in the Devoxx VoxxedDays ecosystem. So there's a lot of Dutch-only companies here as well, which is great. So yeah, it's very healthy, great venue, cinema, good speakers, community. it just matches all, and you see that by just experiencing this event.
It's really fantastic, and congratulations for your part in it. And
I didn't do too much. I mean, it's really Paul Kraks, his team, and I mean, if you look at the volunteers, it's really congrats to them. I mean, yeah.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
This is the first Foojay podcast ever to feature more than 20 guests. Geertjan asked the same two questions to many of the conference visitors. Tell us who you are and what excites you about the technology landscape, and what are 2 tips or insights you'd like to share. As you might expect, there's a lot of talk about AI and machine learning, but you'll also hear about new Java features, profiling, open source security, code reviews, and much more. Let's get started.
I'm Lutske Leeuw, and I'm very interested in Java 24 and AI.
And can you tell us 1 or 2 things that you find especially interesting in that area?
I think that the most important ones are the features that doesn't need any code change and that you can just apply with a simple Java flag and then already see performance.
And which things are those? Can you tell us some of those things?
Yes, the JEP 450, the compact object headers, that's one of them, and just a simple flag added to your startup and you already see profits.
And can you tell us something else you find interesting in that context?
Yes, there are lots of new features with Java 24, and they're ahead of next to the 450. There is also a flag for the head of time class loading and linking, and that's now without pinning, and that's also very interesting to do.
I'm Johannes Bechberger. I work at SAP, and I'm an OpenJDK developer, so I work on Java itself. I focus mostly on profiling and on developer tooling, like at this conference where I'll be giving a talk on instrumentation. I think it's important to know that it's not a magic wand that you could wield and that solves all your problems, but you should understand what your tools are doing. The second thing is there will be a cool new profiler coming hopefully in JDK 25. Let's see, maybe in JDK 26. That will be a CPU term profiler directly integrated into JFR. I'm working on this now for 3 years, so fingers crossed.
You are Christian Tzolov, the Spring AI project lead.
I'm project lead. I'm co-lead for the Spring AI project, and I'm founder and lead for the MCP Java SDK project as well, which is something that just started now. This model context protocol, this new fancy new stuff that help us build AI applications with Spring ecosystem. If you want to make generative AI useful for your domain, generative AI stateless, frozen, pre-trained sometime in the time, somewhere in the past, so you have to make the generative AI aware of your data. You have to make the generative AI aware of your API, how to call your API. Generative AI takes text in, text out, but actually you can make it work. And then you have to take care for the memory state. You have conversations. And so all this is an integration problem. Spring is pretty good in this. Spring has this element into ecosystem, Spring ecosystem, that would make you very, very natural using it in building your AI applications. And now you have this new kit in the block code, model context protocol. If you see yourself building a lot of tools in order for your AI application to interact with this environment, you can find the model context protocol as the best way to provide unified access to tools that someone else built in some other platforms and use it within your Spring environment, or vice versa. You can actually expose your own tools and let any Python framework or JavaScript framework that use AI use it. It's pretty nice time to be.
Yes, and actually also I saw you do a demo integrating Claude AI with some Java code. How did you do that?
Yeah, this is a very good question. This is follow-up of using model context protocol allow us to unify and connect the clients, in this case Claude Desktop, which is an MCP client, to talk to a server. In our case, it was a server built in Spring boot application, Spring Boot application, and you can actually have your Claude Desktop talk to this server and get some information in real time. Actually, you're allowing the cloud model through the client to interact with your Java application that you built in Spring Boot.
I'm Tom Coles. I'm one of the, by now, co-organizers of the Belgian Java user group, because I got some friends that now help out. And my main interest in the space right now is anything involving AI. And when I say AI, I don't mean the narrow focus of GenAI, but actually everything that's more classical AI, like machine learning, meta-heuristics, mathematical optimization, all these technologies that have existed since the 70s and 80s that are technically also AI, but a lot of people don't consider them AI anymore because they now understand how it works. And what I noticed is that the definition of AI seems to shrink every time we understand it. Well, when we first looked at Pong, like the video game, some people considered it, wow, it can react to how I'm playing and I'm playing against AI. Then we said, yeah, no, that's too simple. That's not AI. Then we made complexer algorithms. But once we understood those, people said, yeah, no, that's not AI because it doesn't learn anything. Then we made machine learning. We gave it a bunch of data and it started learning. And then we said, yeah, but even machine learning, that's not really intelligent. It's not creating anything. Now we're in the space of GenAI. It can create stuff, but now people are saying, yeah, but it's not intelligent. So the term AI, it seems like we, as a human species, we don't want it, because every time we have something that looks artificially intelligent, we kind of change our definition of what does intelligent actually mean. So it keeps moving and moving. So I'm very interested in GenAI because I think it's the most fascinating tech that's out there right now, but to integrate it with all this other stuff around it that has proven itself for many, many years. So that's where my focus is right now. I would like people to think a bit more that when someone utters the words, I use AI, to really question what form of AI is being used here. Because often they mean Gen AI, especially when people say, I'm coding with AI. They often mean it's Gen AI, it's LLMs generating stuff. But there's so much more to the AI space, and I feel that we're losing some of that very valuable technology that's in the outer layers of the old school AI. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, once you make that move and you investigate that, you will see that there's so much opportunity to integrate these older forms of AI with the new Gen AI hype. And if you integrate those, you can have some really fascinating, really powerful solutions for problems that are everywhere.
I'm Eric-Wubbo Lameijer. I'm a developer at the moment in Java and CGI. What area of technology of interest at the moment is automated code analysis. So basically going through a huge code base and seeing where the problems are, how we can improve it. Because projects are getting bigger and bigger, and it's harder and harder to add features or remove bugs.
And what are one or two things that you find especially interesting or relevant about this to you?
Well, that there actually are ways, for example, to use Git and GitHub analysis to see what pieces of code change frequently and which change in tandem. So these two things are dependent, or three things are dependent, and they probably shouldn't be. So that gives information about where should we refactor, for example. So if you have lots of technical debt, which most companies have, where to start with technical debt? Are you just cleaning things up that are not important, or are you going to the residuum, to the heart?
And is this something that GitHub provides, or where does this come from?
Basically, you can do analysis with Git. So if you look at books like Your Code as a Crime Scene by Adam Thornhill, he has actually made tools, but you can also program them yourself if you not need to. So you can make analysis which codes files change together and which files change frequently. And together with a complexity analysis, how big the file is, or other measures, you can say we should address that first.
My name is Abraham van der Vyver. Currently what I find interesting in the industry is, of course, the GenAI movement, and I'm curious where everything is heading at the moment.
And what two things in particular concern you, or have you been thinking about in that area?
Well, the first thing, of course, is how it will impact my job as a software developer. And secondly, I'm actually curious of what impact it will have on the open source community, or well, open source projects in general.
So what impact do you think it could have? What's the connection between open source projects and AI?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much at this moment we're thinking a lot about reusing code. Like somebody else wrote a library and you're implementing it, and a lot of times with software we see that only a small sliver of that is being used. And now with to extent, I'm wondering if this vibe coding movement as well will force developers actually to write that specific slice of that library themselves, and yet what impact that will have in general on the open source community. Like if there's certain libraries that will actually stop existing in a way just because people will be writing it themselves. Like I think in the Node.js communities anyway, we've seen that where people would use simple string concatenation and they will include all of these tons of libraries, but now actually they can just ask their junior developer to write that library for them, in this case an LLM or a code assistant.
So does it mean the end of junior developers?
I don't think it's the end of junior developers, but I do think the way that we are skilling up people will be challenged. Because, for example, if you would take time with a junior developer to explain to them how to write code, now you can also do that with a smart agent. And if the need for those junior people gets less, the question is, how do we get people into the industry, though? Of course, the junior developers will also be, good at writing code, but I'm not sure if they will be good at evaluating the quality of that code, which is, we're here to explore that. Well, the future will tell us about that.
My name is Soham. I work in Microsoft as a pre-sales consultant or pre-sales technical architect, and my focus area is combining cloud-native applications with AI, large language model or small language models. I find the interesting area is obviously, and of course, the GenAI side. The way it is evolving, the pace of innovation, it's mind-blowing. So that's my core, and that's why I'm looking at in any conference or any talk I'm actually going. I still think quite a lot of us read about this, go to talk to about this, but we don't really use it as much. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, if you have a GitHub account, I think everybody does at this point of time, GitHub gives you a way to use these models freely. So if you go to GitHub Marketplace, you can search for the models that you want to work with. You can, in the playground, do prompt and see how this model performs. You can compare these models. But on top of that, you can get a developer key, which is completely free, has a usage limit, but still completely free. And you can use that development key to write code against it. So use LangChain 4j, use semantic kernel, use your favorite framework, or even no framework as well, Spring AI as well. Write code on it, see how it works, and get familiar with it. I mean, to understand a technology, you need to use it. You need to know how to do it. So that's the one thing I want to give. Second thing I want to give is be critical about technology. Every new aspect or a new thing is very shiny, and people mostly talk about the shiny side of it. But be critical. What it cannot do, what it cannot bring it to you, and how you will gonna tackle that. So be critical about the advancement of the technology, and get to know it properly. And then, you would be, I think, the best person to judge whether this is good for you or not. That's it.
My name is Josh Long, and I work on the Spring team as a developer advocate. And I think I'm not the only one, surely. I find AI super interesting, right? I mean, it's sort of this very pervasive thing right now, and I think it's just been monopolizing a lot of my time, you know? I mean, obviously, first of all, pierce through the hyperbole a little bit if you can. That's hard to do, but if you can do it, and you can find the things that are actually really, truly valuable, that is very interesting, right? And I think right now we're seeing a lot of people hit the edges of some of the potential that they were sold, and they're saying, okay, this isn't real, but if you go back a few steps, there's a real thing there. So one thing I've always wanted was the Star Trek computer, simulate this or blah, 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 and now you can kind of have that, right? You can actually talk to your computer and get interesting things to happen. And for example, there's this new MCP protocol, by which you can drive whatever you want, other services, APIs, local software. I mean, like in theory, it wouldn't be hard to build an app that says, computer, render a scene of a cafe in Blender, and then it'll do it, That's crazy. That's orders of magnitude. Your voice is all these years. We always spent time trying to find these 4GLs, these things that the business analysts could use, because in that narrative, in that reckoning, apparently business analysts are idiots. That's the way it's always seemed to me. People are like, oh, SQL, so you don't have to actually learn to write code, right? Well, why? Anybody can write code, it's not hard. But anyway, that said, I think the 4GL that we all been looking for is English or Dutch or whatever, right? Like, that's the language, and it's here,
Human language is a new programming language. Somebody said to me recently.
Oh, well, that person sounds smart. Yeah.
That person was Christian Tzolov, your colleague.
Oh, that guy's the best. Yeah. Yeah. Super powerful.
So do you really see this happening, that the human language will completely operate the machine?
No, but I do see that you can do. So yes, I see it's going to happen, yes. I don't see it happening right now, but that's only because the protocol that I think will enable it is very, very new. It's MCP, right? And it's basically a way to interface, your model with your disparate data services systems and so on. And those things are, it's sort of all the things we wanted from SOA 25 years ago without WS star, without the concerns around schema, around integration, orchestrate. All that just goes away because you got the model doing it and it understands English. You can inspect the shape of your function of your service and deduce how to call it. It just the schema is the language description of it. Actually, the schema could be the Java doc, like something like that,
What is the role, do you think, of the junior developer in the future? If AI is going to be replacing all these grunt kind of tasks and increasingly more and more of these, where does especially the junior developer remain in the story? How do you actually learn programming skills? Or are you saying that you will not need programming skills?
No, I think it's up. I think these MCP integrations just give you a higher order sort of abstraction, right? A higher order bit that you can work with. So, in the same way that object orientation didn't stop programming, quite the contrary, it gave it a force multiplier. The level of abstraction moves up. The more a competent person can do, the force multiplier of that is more and more, as we get better and better technology. So, yeah, I think the younger engineer today has a unique opportunity. Like, learn the basics. Obviously, you should always know what you're dealing with before you start abstracting away. But then, my goodness, I mean, to be able to sit atop that perch with a fresh perspective, and to be able to build it. I mean, do you remember when you were young and you had that I can build anything, and nobody has told me otherwise, so I'll try it. And you sit down. It's like you sit down for a month and you come out the other side of it and go, oh, that was insane. I should never have done that, but I'm glad I did. Right? That's because you didn't know how hard it was going to be, and you just dove into it. And the next thing you know, something cool happened. Right? Imagine having that perspective, that lack of inhibition, but being able to wield AI. I mean, the world's our oyster right now. If you're a young person, you have this toolbox at your disposal. It's a great time.
I'm Susanne Pieterse, and I'm a Java developer, but also very busy with RAG and AI. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in at the moment.
And you're also one of the community reviewers for this conference, VoxxedDays Amsterdam. Can you tell us about that, what that means?
Yeah, when VoxxedDays Amsterdam was announced, they said you could become a community reviewer, which meant that every proposal for a presentation would be available for you to review, and you could do like a pre-selection and advise the organizers which one to select. And that was a lot of fun. There was so much, and they didn't listen to me, of course, in everything. Otherwise, it would have been one RAG conference, and that was not the idea, of course. But some of them came through, and that's why I'm here.
It's fantastic. And about RAG, are you doing anything with it at the moment? And what are your main insights or surprising things that you've discovered?
Yeah, I'm working on a vector search application, and we also experimented with RAG in a chatbot. And today I went to the presentation from Guillaume Laforge about how to use RAG better. And I went there to his presentation in Devoxx Antwerp last year, but now he added some information about agentic RAG, and I'm really looking forward to try it out tonight.
My name is Brian Vermeer. I am the co-lead of the Netherlands Java user group. I work for Sneak, the security company, and currently what we're working on is obviously something with generative AI and LLMs, but the security angle on using LLMs and what can possibly go wrong, and that is a super interesting part that I'm currently working on.
So what are two things from that you've learned recently, or that you found inspiring or interesting, or that you would leave as tips about that topic?
Oh, there are a bunch of things. First of all, it's hard to secure it. I mean, prompt injection there are so many forms of it. But the fact that LLMs now can have tools or even agentic behavior, that opens up a whole nother ballgame from a security angle, what could possibly go wrong. So things are, what you could prevent is, hey, check your in and output, what goes into an LLM. Maybe, for instance, with guardrails, Currently, that's, for instance, implemented in LangChain4j with Quarkus. But there are other things as well, like irregular vulnerabilities, like a SQL injection or a path reversal problem, can propagate into things that are getting injected into an LLM, and that makes an LLM behave differently, and if it can execute things, that can be disastrous. So these are angles we're currently exploring, and I have a talk about this here at VoxxedDays Amsterdam as well. So yeah, that's my interesting research currently.
My name is Anton de Ruiter, and I'm community leader of Java by the tech service of the Dutch government. And I'm interested in everything what has to do with Java and with the tech service. We are commonly to containers. We have a lot of big monolith systems, and we are now all transforming them to microservices inside containers.
Excellent. And are there two tips or insights that you would like to share about this?
Don't think large, but think small, and look what you can separate.
My name is Rafael De Lio. I've been working as a software engineer for the past 7 years, mostly in the Java ecosystem. But now for the past 5 months, I started working as a developer advocate at Redis. And that's the area of technology that I find the most interesting right now, which are databases in general, but mostly real-time databases just like Redis. I think that Redis is not just a cache, it's an actual database, and it always has been since its beginning, back in 2009. And you can actually see that when you go back to 2008 and see a blog post of Salvatore Sanfilippo, its creator, where he says that he's actually frustrated with the database technologies that they had at the time because they didn't allow him to scale as well as web servers could scale at the time. So what he wanted was a database that was fault-tolerant, highly available, scalable, and that allowed you to add or remove machines dynamically with no downtime. So he wasn't asked for too much, and in fact, a couple of months later, he came up with Redis, its first version, 2009, that already came with persistence and master replica architecture, and also different data structures that allowed developers at the time to perform operations on the side of the database that weren't available at key value databases at the time. So one of them, for example, was sorted sets that was used by Reddit, one of the early adopters of Redis, that allowed them to rank the posts, as you all see today, very efficiently. But not only that, lists in Redis also allowed many companies to start using them as a message queue, basically. Later versions of Redis started adding new capabilities to Redis that most people are not aware of as well. So pub sub notifications, streams, just like in Kafka. And by 2017, we also added modules, the module system that allowed developers to create their own data structures and commands and capabilities and plug this into Redis in a way that they never could before. Of course, we took advantage of that, and we introduced Redis Search, Redis Bloom, that added probabilistic data structures to Redis. Redis Search added full text search capability to Redis. We added JSON data structure to Redis as well, so it started working as a document database. And we also added time series data structure to Redis so that it could work as a time series database. And the cool thing is that all of that were separate modules at the time now is becoming part of the core of Redis with the newest version, Redis 8, which is coming out this month, but you can already test it, which is the most efficient and performant version of Redis so far.
I'm Jonathan Schronkhorst. I work at SVB as a Java developer. At the moment, I find really interesting the new technology from Spring AI. As it's really easy to connect your LLMs in a new way to Spring Boot. I think it's really good to follow Christian Tzolov, as he is the lead developer on that project, and just look for videos on it. It's really cool how it works.
My name is Jos Roosboom. I work as a Java freelance software developer, and I work at the Java backend, mainly Spring Boot. I've been working a lot on GPA, so persistence, and lately more on architecture things. Things like encapsulation with Spring Modulates, and I study a bit more into that, and now I talk about that.
And are there one or two things you'd like to share, some insights that you have that people might not know about?
The value of encapsulation is, I would study that. It's highly helpful in your application. Java offers us encapsulation just with package private, but if you want to go up, well, things like Spring Modulate could help.
I'm Soroosh. I'm a solution architect, software developer, something like that. But currently, I'm really focused on the software security, especially software supply chain risk in the software security. You should first update your components and dependencies, because there's a famous saying that says that you will die as a hero, or you live long yourself to see yourself as a villain. So it what happened to Java 8. So it was a really nice thing, but the people forgot to update it, and now Java 8 is also a villain. So also with other dependencies that you have in your project, so please update them with renovate, depend about the snake, Nexus IQ, whatever, but just update the dependencies, because there are vulnerabilities or problems in those dependencies that maybe cause some issue for you in the future. So this is number one recommendation. And the second one is try to use dependency scanning tools before you go to production. Because then before you go to production, you will be well aware of the components that you used in your application and the vulnerabilities that they have. So those things I think are really important. Update and also use the dependency scanning.
I'm Artem. I'm a principal engineer at Code Nomads. And I think, especially telling from the talks that we have today at this conference, one of the big things these days is applied AI. So what I like about it is that it's not just an abstract topic, because there was a lot of hype in the recent years about AI, but there was a bit of a solution in search of a problem, so there was no real application of it, in my opinion, that was worthy, especially because not the projects that I'm working with, at least, there is very little, let's say, opportunity to apply AI. But these days, with the growing precision of AI, but also with the technologies around AI, like the different libraries like Spring AI, which is presented today, LangChain 4J. These libraries are providing very nice tools that can actually help to develop working solutions and something useful with AI. And I think this will only improve further. So then we will see interesting products and projects using AI that will be useful for us, not only as developers, but also in the products that we are making.
Hi, I'm Kaya Weers. I work as a Java developer, and I think there's so much comes to mind. So I'm thinking what excites me is how much you can learn, always continue to learn. You see also here at VoxxedDays, there's so much to learn, and the enthusiasm of everyone in this community. So when I first started to go to a conference, I didn't really know what to expect. But for me, it's what excites. Everyone thinks about the sessions and the content you learn. But it's always amazing to see how enthusiastic everyone is and to speak all the other passionate people in the hallway.
What do you think it is that makes people so passionate about what they're doing?
I think there's a combination, and it differs per person. So some people are really passionate about the details and they really want to, a bit also the stubborn, like the people really want to figure things out, and then they just continue and are so passionate about finding it out. And by others, I think it's more the learning, that they want to keep learning, and also maybe a bit like the how do you say, the geekness, or interested in small details and then just diving into it.
I also sometimes think that it's the most passionate people in a company who are developers who are the ones coming to the conferences, and the ones who are less passionate are the ones that are not coming. And so you end up with a collection of very passionate people all making each other enthusiastic because they are naturally passionate people.
Yeah, I think that's also partly true, because if I look at the company, when I mention like, oh, who goes to the conference? And then you have the people who are like, yeah, I go. People are like, oh, unfortunately I can't, but I want to. And people are like, I've never heard of it. And I'm like, how can you have never heard of it? And then I notice, okay, so I'm in a bubble of people loving it and enjoying it and the meetups, and there's people that's also fine, just more do the regular job. So yeah, I think that's also true, and that's maybe also the good part about the conferences, that you have them all together instead of that you have to find them in your company.
Some bubbles are good bubbles.
Yeah, that's true, but also I think that sometimes it can help if we try to get people to come also with us to conferences or meetup, because I have colleagues where I think, I think they would love it, but they're a bit like, yeah, I don't know what to expect, or how does it work?
Or it will be too difficult, it will be too hard, and I won't understand the speakers. And
Yeah, but otherwise I can just work, and we have deadlines. I'm like, yeah, but this one day will not be like whether you make or make not your deadline.
So what is the message out of all of this?
Come to the meetups, come to the conferences, or maybe at least, or even if you do it within your company, like find each other, go share knowledge, share enthusiasm. Because I noticed that when I have also people just regular days at work, if we more shared enthusiasm, like I also get happier and want to do things better and continue. And also now, because I was at a session with IoT, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I should like dust off my Raspberry Pi, which is like far away somewhere. And I know that in the end, on a day like this, I have 20 ideas and I probably won't do most of them, but that's also fine. It helps to light up it a little bit that, that I do love this profession.
I'm Eddy Vos. I'm the chairman of the Devoxx4Kids Foundation in the Netherlands. Devoxx4Kids Foundation is for volunteer IT people that voluntarily give free lessons to children between 8 and 40 years. And we do that at primary schools and also at companies. The past year we developed a platform called Little, demand response website for schools, so they can register, see if there is a volunteer teacher in the neighborhood with specific modules, and then they can request help from that volunteer teacher, and that one will go to the school and give those workshops.
That's amazing. So who are the teachers, or who are the volunteers, the mentors that are available to teachers?
It's mostly people from the open source community. So we have Java developers, Kotlin developers, Node.js developers everywhere. Everybody who likes to teach coding to children is a volunteer at our site. So.
And what age group are these children?
We target between 8 and 14. So because with 8 they have a good understanding what we are meaning with IT and processes and everything. Also, they can keep good attention at that age. And we target to at least 14, because at 14 they are at the moment at school, they have to decide, okay, which study do I go to? And then we finally hope to go to do a beta study, so going into science.
So a call to action, someone listening to this who wants to contribute, who wants to be available to schools as a teacher or as a mentor, what should they do?
They have to go to the website little.org, or go to the Devoxx4Kids.nl website and register as a volunteer, or contact us by email or on our website.
And are the engagements valuable? Do you get good positive feedback? Do the volunteers who do the teaching, do they enjoy it? What's the experience like?
They really like it. Also the response from the kids, because they really like how to work with coding, and especially if you bring also your robots with us. We have robots and you can loan them from us to use them at the school at the end. And how more they do, how more they see the happy kids, or more often they volunteer to let's do another session.
My name is Paco van Beckhoven, and I'm currently very interested in ways to improve the developer experience around code reviews, reducing the load of the review, trying to get away, simplify, or take away any distractions that you usually have, like minor issues in code requests or code pull requests that you can automatically fix. There's two particular tools I've mostly learned about. I think the first one that I really like, I learned it at Picnic. It was error-prone, and there's also Picnic's error-prone support, which is sort of it tells you at compile time things that could be improved, just like checkstall and Sonar, for example, can also do. But in contrary to those, it also suggests fixes to automatically be applied, so that you can automatically sort of easily migrate your code base as well to the new sort of standard that you want to set. And the other one, which is sort of in a similar place, it's Open Rewrite, which is a great tool for doing mass migrations, and this decreases the load in reviews that you do a migration all at once. What you often see is that you move to a newer Java version, for example, and then you don't migrate the whole code base at once. So every time you touch something, you improve it a bit. But that means that you add and introduce a lot of noise on all these individual pull requests rather than just creating one big to, for example, migrate from JUnit 4 to JUnit 5, to use the latest Java constructs, or to maybe want to move to AssertJ or make them all slightly better. So I think those are two topics that I'm still working on and introducing and improving.
My name is Hanno Embrechts. I'm a teacher and technology advocate at InfoSupport. And one of the things I get the most energy of is teaching people about technology. So teaching about Java, enterprise application development, and also how to use AI and GenAI in a good way. We live in this era of AI, right? And the developments are going very rapidly. And the thing that always bugs me then is, can we still think about how AI makes us better developers? Because I don't want AI to take over the work that I find the most interesting, right? Or that gets the most fun for me. So what I try to teach the people that I also teach about Java is, use GenAI in places where you think it is fitting. But always read the stuff that is generated back and have an opinion about that. And also, when you're trying to learn a new technology, it's far better to dive into it and deal with the problems yourself than just to ask an AI agent to generate the entire solution for you, because that will get you a good result in the short term probably, but that will not help you in the long term when you run into more problems. So I think that's it.
So the idea to, even though you can use AI for everything, to be selective about where you use it, because it prevents you from learning the things that AI does automatically.
Yeah, and a good example is, I think you see all these social media accounts that use generative AI to generate art or music, and I kind of feel mixed about that, because that's also stuff that people like to do, right? We like to create art and music, and we should just let AI do the boring parts for us and not the fun parts.
My name is Martijn van Iersel. I work as a solution architect at Topdesk. I also give trainings, and one thing that I really like is when training or helping other developers to learn to come up with creative ways to help them. And I think gamification is something that can really help in education and in training people and helping them to learn new things.
So in what context have you done this, and what are some insights that you've gained from this approach?
I've done several workshops at Topdesk. One of them was about internationalization, and I created some puzzles, some online puzzles, internationalization puzzles, and I was really trying to engage people to learn something about the topic that most programmers find kind of annoying and frustrating, to approach it in a fun way, and so I actually organized an event where I put all these puzzles online and people tried them out, and it was really cool to see people really engaging with it, sometimes even being very competitive, trying to solve the puzzle as quickly as possible. And so this is what I like to see is a little bit of gamification, helping people to really get engaged and enthusiastic and learn something, even if it seems difficult or impossible.
Perfect. What is one thing in the internationalization context that you learned or that you found surprising or that is interesting to talk about?
I learned a lot myself while making all of these puzzles, and it ranges from learning about UTF-8, how it works, what you can do with it, the crazy stuff that is in Unicode. Maybe one thing to highlight is Unicode is so complicated that there's also even security problems that can surface. For example, and there's one puzzle about this. If you look at right to left text support, then sometimes that means that using the right to left text markers, you can actually invert parts of your code, and then it looks like different code. And so that could be a security problem if the code looks like it does one thing, but it's interpreted a different way because the interpreter doesn't adhere to the right to left embedding markers. And so I created a puzzle about that, but it's also, I think, an important thing to be aware of, that these security problems exist under the hood if you follow the Unicode standard.
My name is Joel Fasching, and I'm
Java dev, but also DevOps. I try to be a bit of an all-rounder, and what inspires me is just the innovation and the way that people solve problems. Today at this conference, it's been a lot about AI, but then also, are we going to lose our jobs to AI? And
are we?
I would say no. TLDR, short answer, no. It's just another tool in the tool set that you have to think about how to use it and when to use it, when not to overuse it. One of the guys today said that it's like a hammer. You know, we got a tool, and there's this old saying that, you know, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And it reminded me of the children. Whenever they get a new toy or a stuffed animal, it has to go everywhere with them. So it feels like that with AI now, or let me say specifically GenAI, where it's just everywhere now and everybody wants to use it for everything. And so the creativity there is sometimes inspiring, sometimes a bit scary.
So what are one or two interesting applications of that, or what have you been doing with it yourself so far? What are your insights around this?
Okay, so first, what I've been doing with it is also trying to see if we can have a conversation, trying to use it like a sparring partner. Not just give me answers, you know, do my job for me. Trying to think of different angles which I haven't considered. So I have this problem, let me explain the problem to it, and then can you respond in, let's say, a Socratic manner to ask me, have you considered this? Have you considered that? So, or I don't like this answer. Can you reframe it? So, almost like outsourcing some of my critical thinking to it. And if you frame it correctly, I think, it could help a lot with offloading our thinking and not necessarily the coding or let it code for us. So that's maybe a different way to think about it. And then the second part was to not be scared to go back to declarative Java, because now we also saw a talk earlier today about using AI and help it to write all this streaming inputs for you and make it look very fancy, but things get complicated. And one of the speakers reminded us that code gets read a lot more than it gets written. So maybe think about that, how easy it is for your mentally unstable colleagues to read your code. So that's a joke, obviously. But then not to be afraid to go back to all the tools that are out there, to not focus just on one tool, because then Java is now 30 years old, has a lot of backwards compatibility, but it hasn't stopped growing. It is, it's just added to the toolbox. So if you think about, okay, well, how can we keep this simple and concise? It's about, efficiency of code and code readability, I feel, at the end of the day.
I'm Joris Kuipers. I work as a CTO for Vyver Amsterdam, and I've been working with Spring Source, and I've been in the Java space for 25 years already. And actually, a lot of what we do is building custom enterprise applications. So on the one hand, I'm looking for information about practical stuff. I saw some interesting things about extending security, OpenID Connect, effective containerization of applications. But I'm also learning about a lot of new stuff, like currently the AI talk from Christian Tzolov that I'm currently attending, actually, because we have a short break now.
And what are one or two insights or tips that you have gained?
Well, on the AI side, definitely that this is, I think, the time for Java developers to start experimenting and investigating with this technology, not just for building applications as a programming assistant, but actually to integrate in the applications themselves. So that's definitely one. And on the other hand, I think attending conferences is not just for the technology, but also for reconnecting with people. Again, is has been a great experience so far today.
Thank you, Geertjan, for being the podcast interviewer, and to all the guests who shared their experiences. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the Foojay Podcast in your favorite app or on YouTube. Keep an eye on Foojay for future articles and podcasts about development and everything related to the Java world. See you next time.
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.